Hamas claims it has handed over all hostage bodies it can access, but Israel considers restricting aid to Gaza over the delayed handover. The 2 coffins containing the remains of deceased hostages are now in Israel, according to the Israel Defense Forces, IDF. The IDF and the Red Cross transported the coffins from Gaza City to IDF and Israel Security Agency ISA forces in Gaza. The remains are being transported to the National Institute for Forensic Medicine in Tel Aviv for formal identification. The Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz, has called on the military to prepare a plan to defeat Hamas if the war in Gaza resumes. The ceasefire agreement required Hamas to return all living and deceased hostages within 72 hours, but the group has only handed over about a third of the remaining 28 deceased hostages. The U.S. President Donald Trump warned that Israeli forces could resume fighting in Gaza if Hamas doesn't uphold the ceasefire deal. The Rafah border crossing between Egypt and Gaza remains closed to humanitarian aid, and only 300 aid trucks have entered Gaza, not the 600 agreed upon in the ceasefire deal. The restriction of aid is intended to pressure Hamas to release all deceased hostages. The Palestinian Health Ministry reports that 90 Palestinian bodies held by Israel during the conflict have been transferred to Gaza, while violent clashes between Hamas and rival groups have erupted across Gaza. The Red Cross has received 2 coffins with deceased hostages, and Hamas's military wing says it needs special equipment to access the remaining bodies. The Israeli military says the coffins are on their way to IDF and ISA forces in Gaza. The Al-Qassam brigades state that they have handed over all living captives and the bodies they can access. The Israeli leadership is frustrated over the slow pace of hostage returns and is considering options if delays continue. The war has caused significant destruction in Gaza, potentially making the search for bodies difficult. The Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz, calls the lack of progress a failure to uphold commitments. The Red Cross is on its way to a meeting point in northern Gaza to receive several coffins of deceased hostages. The IDF urges the public to act with sensitivity and wait for official identification. The Palestinian Independent Commission for Human Rights expresses deep concern about executions in the Gaza Strip, and the UN Human Rights Office reports that the Israeli military continues to kill civilians in Gaza. The U.S. Central Command Chief calls on Hamas to stop shooting civilians in Gaza. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, transports the bodies of 45 deceased Palestinians back into Gaza. The Health Ministry confirms that medical teams handle bodies according to approved protocols. The UN Relief Chief and the World Food Program Director express concerns about delayed or reduced aid flow, while an aid worker describes Israel's decision to withhold relief as outrageous. The Israeli military says one of the bodies released overnight did not belong to an Israeli hostage.